Hey kids, it's Blackjack with 396 guitars. We have the Brian Moore. Yeah, Brian Moore guitar back on the bench today. We've done quite a bit of work on it to get it to this stage. I'm going to catch you up. Let's get to work. This is basically a soft restoration, although yeah, it needs a little bit more work, but I'm going to try to catch you up on what we've done. It turns out there are two Seymour Duncan. Both of the Buckers are Seymour Duncan. Only one of them actually says Seymour Duncan on it. The other one, it might have at some point. You can see every time I touch these components, I feel like I need a tetanus shot. I already cleaned this one up. It would not come out, so I pulled a pickup ring out of my own parts bin and put a new pickup ring in there, and we mounted the single coil in the middle. As you can see, cleaned it up. We did not restore it, of course. We're not going that far with it. We did clean the neck, polished all of the frets, cleaned up the headstock, buffed it. We buffed the body, top and bottom, inside and out. There is some, I don't know if the camera will pick up on it right here. Some sort of chemical got on it that will not come off. It got into the clear coat and is, kind of reacting with it. We're not going that far to get in there and start wet sanding and that sort of thing. Our mission is to make this play again. We cleaned up all the tuners, put them back in. Some of them needed new bushings and what have you. That's all done. We reinstalled the bottom portion of the nut. And what we're going to do now, also I cleaned up as much of the hardware as I could, but where we couldn't clean it up and just wouldn't make any sense to, I put new chrome. I used new pickup ring mounting screws, and then or pickup mounting screws, and then pickup ring mounting screws new. We're going to do the same thing with this, and I'm going to show you what I did to this pickup on this pickup. So stand by. Let me get this thing out of the way. We just don't need it right now. What I want to do, and I am going to try to, you know what, I'm going to pause and I'm going to bring the camera down a little bit closer just so we can see exactly what we're doing with this guy. Stand by. So what we're going to try to do is clean this guy up. And it's not real complicated because I know this pickup works. What we want to try to avoid is being too aggressive with it. It's a Seymour Duncan APH1N. Right? Pretty grungy. It's pretty grody, right? So, first things first, get it off of the pickup ring. I don't know if I'm going to be able to reuse this pickup ring. I hope I can. It's got its own curvature of the body of the guitar. But man, there is some grunge on this thing. And just like anything, you got to pay attention to what you're doing and don't get too aggressive with it. We're not going to reuse these screws. They're rusted. Just absolutely nastiness. The springs, believe it or not, because they were underneath, are not in horrible shape. We may or may not reuse them. Hopefully we will get to, once this is cleaned up, we will get to remount them. These are going the way of the dodo bird. we're going to get to remount them in the pickup ring, which needs a fair amount of cleanup. The other one, this is the neck pickup. The bridge pickup, one of the screws was, the screw heads was actually frozen and you couldn't get a screwdriver head on it. So I had to cut the ring, and then I got a new ring for it out of my parts bin. But these will probably clean up pretty good. Now, this is our lead. We don't want to booger with that too much, but the Seymour Duncans are built pretty good. What I do, I'm going to put my googly eyes on. A little bit of deoxit cleaner. Yeah, it's a pretty dirty job, but I don't want to take the tape off the side, but what we're going to do is clean up all the cat hair and who knows what else on it. And then cut all of these little frayed pieces off. Just a toothbrush and some elbow grease. And a paper towel. Nastiness. Nastiness. Wow. That is actually the electrical tape, the old style electrical tape coming apart and oozing glue and who knows what else. But as I said before, all we're trying to do is, it looks like it used to say Seymour Duncan right there. Yeah, it used to. All we're trying to do is clean this up and make it acceptable enough to go back in. If not, this one is in much worse shape than the bridge pickup was. I didn't have all of that when I was working on the bridge pickup, but wow, what a grody piece of shit. Most of this black stuff is the tape and the glue coming off of the tape, but it's mostly intact. All we have to do is kind of scissor it off of there. We don't want all those little threads of tape sticking off. And believe it or not, this is kind of a soft restoration. We're not doing a hard restoration. If I was going to do that, I would have to take this all apart, get the tape off, completely remove everything right down to the windings. And I don't want to do that because if it comes to it and the client decides to do it, he could just get a new set of Seymour Duncans. This isn't a 59 Les Paul, as I've said before. We're just trying to clean it up and make it play again. Right? Right? You follow? Yeah, I'm going to have to pause and go clean up that. I even boogered up my scissors. I'm going to have to charge them extra for that. Let's get a good look at this pickup and see. I did take time to, oh, there's another thread right there. I did take time on the other one to sand the pole pieces, but I didn't get very far with it, and it didn't really help. It didn't matter one way or another, I should say. Seymour Duncan. All right, that's as far as I'm willing to go with it. I am going to pause while I go clean this mess up, and I'll be right back. So what do we do next? We take our grody ass pickup and we mount it back in the ring. I hope at some juncture he decides to put new pickups in this, because while these pickups may work, they're too far gone. It would cost me, my client, more to take them completely apart and fix them than to just putting in a new set. So there is not a fat or thin side of the ring, so it doesn't matter which way we put it in. Just want to get it started. We'll measure it when we put it into the guitar. We'll pre-measure the pickup height. After cleaning this, eventually the tape will dry out again. I just want to get it back in the guitar and make it make sound like the other two do. And they were all three making sound when we started. This will be the last one. If it doesn't make sound, then I'm going to have to go raid my parts bin and find a humbucker to throw in there. I'm thinking. That's just me spitballing. Yeah, I like that. That looks pretty good. The next step is to open up our wire and get it ready to solder in. I'm not going to show that up close. It's all we're going to do is split open the outside cover of this and expose all 5 wires. There's a ground, a black, a red, and a white. And they're Seymour Duncan, going to Seymour Duncan in the guitar. It's just we have to splice them back together. I'm going to try to do that on this video, but I'm not going to bring the camera back down. Every time I do that, it's a major pain in the ass putting it back and getting the boom set. So stand by. Let me get this cut open. We're going to get it ready to tin the ends and put it back into the guitar. So we completed the splice of putting the neck pickup back in. It's going to sit in there in this orientation, but I wanted to tap test it before we go any further. Split, Beautiful. Middle neck, middle only, middle bridge, bridge only. Yeah, and we do have push-pulls here for phasing and splitting coils and the humbuckers, but everything's back in there, so we don't need that. To finish installation of that pickup, they're working just like they did when we started. Again, if it was my guitar, I would be putting in new pickups. These pickups have seen better days. Let's just leave it at that. But they're working, and we're okay with that. So the last thing I want to do, you can see my splice here. I'll try to lift it up so that you can see it. 5 wires all spliced together right there. No, I didn't show it this time. I'm not going to do that every single time I solder stuff together. I'm just going to tie them together, and sometimes I use a zip tie, but in this particular instance, I'm just going to put a piece of blue tape. All it's got to do is hold it in the cavity underneath the pickup. I just don't want it to move around and jockey around in there. This will help facilitate that. And no, don't use black electrical tape. All it will do is deteriorate over time. Believe it or not, this blue tape is far more durable in that regard. So yeah, it's going to kind of sit in here in this orientation, just like that. And yeah, I sourced out a couple of screws, or did I? I thought I did. No, I did. I'm not going to use the old screws that were holding that pickup ring in there. They're just nasty and grody, and not going to do it. Not going to do it. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward stuff. Except for the fact that I've been working on it for 3 days. Just doing cleanup, mostly. This pickup is definitely, the neck pickup is definitely in worse condition than the bridge pickup. But it's working. This guitar was actually gifted to the client. Like I said, it's been sitting in a storage bin for, might as well be 100 years, 15 years in South Florida in a storage bin with no air conditioning or climate control. It's bad enough. But our mission was to make it play, clean it, and make it play. When I got it, it had tetanus shot written all over it. Now, I think we have a few minutes left. We're going to try to mount the bridge in there. And yeah, that took quite a bit of work too, just to get it to this condition. The chrome plating is coming off everywhere. Dissimilar metals don't like each other, especially when corrosion starts to happen. Humidity, acid, unlike metals will get together and they will start to fuse, rust, corrode. I had to pull every one of these string blocks out, clean them by hand, and sand them one at a time on 10 sides, to get them to where, and not only that, but clean up every single cavity that accepts it. Again, you can go and get a brand new one of these. Yeah, sure, but that wasn't our mission. That was not our mission to start with. Same thing with the bridge posts. I took them out and cleaned them. They're brass and they're super, super fragile. Brass with fine, ultra fine threading. I want to get it set in there and put the springs back on it just so it holds it in place. And when you're doing this, be mindful that it's not riding below and riding on the threads, because if you do that, you're going to lose your adjustment. Make sure that it's actually in the receiving part of the post. How do you know that? Well, you'll know if you screw it up. That's how you'll know. Might even get to throw some strings on it in this episode. I don't know. 1, 2, 3. I hate Floyd roses because they don't like to cooperate. No, I don't know if you remember, but when we first got this guitar, they have it blocked here. And that means they don't use the whammy. So all we have to do is get it in there and get some tension on it. Get it in there and get some tension on it. We're going to take this cover off and put the other cover back on just to protect the electronics. Get source some better screws for it later. Since we know the electronics are working now. Right. All right, you come here. It's cleaned up and it's going to be functional. That much I can promise you. Well, I shouldn't promise it because I don't know. It wasn't playing when I got it. But we're going to find out together. One in the middle. Might need a pair of needle nose. Okay. You want to play? I'll play. Wow. This is why I don't like 2-point Floyd Rose bridges. Especially ones that have been blocked that aren't going to cooperate. Got one spring on, and that should be enough to hold it in place. All right. That should be enough to hold it in place. Wow. Get all this work done and find out this bridge isn't going to work. Wouldn't that be a kick in the teeth? Wouldn't that be a kick in the teeth? Forgot to tell me that part, didn't you? It never played right. Something wasn't right. Get in there, you pain in the ass. It's because of that damn block. They have it blocked and it doesn't want to give. That last little bit right there, that bridge wants to pull up so those springs can get in there. Yeah, why would you have a Floyd Rose and then block it so you can't use it? I don't know. I don't know. So the rest of that operation is going to be, it is in there and it's pulled all the way down because there's no string tension on it. And I can tell that we're exactly seated where I want to be in the post, but without putting strings on it and restringing it, which I suppose we could mock up a set of strings, but we're pretty much at the end of this video. I just wanted to show cleaning that pickup up and getting it in the guitar and making sure that it was working. The electronics are behaving. The next installment is going to be, all right, let's see what our cleanup and work on this area got us, and get some strings on it, get some tension into it, and attempt to do a setup. Yeah, at this juncture, that's kind of where we're going to be. It's starting to look like a guitar again, and once we get some string tension on it, we'll get it back to maybe breathing some life. I think I'm going to call the customer. I'll bet any amount of money he is not aware that it was blocked so that the tremolo system on the Floyd Rose doesn't work. And on a Floyd Rose, it's the only way you can disengage it. On a Fender, all you do is drive the claw screws all the way in and it slams it down to the body and it can't move. If he wants it to have that trem system working, well, then we'll have to take that out and take it into consideration when we're doing this setup. I think we're going to call it a day right there. It's Blackjack with 396 guitars. We're making progress on this guitar, but you know, these restorations, they don't just go ABC 1, 2, 3. We'll talk soon. If you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe, and please share.